Hello everyone, I want to thank you all for coming here today. My name is Shannon Sheridan and I'm going to be your mediator of the group. Today we are here to resolve a conflict between Forest Services and Adam Ford, the Smokey Bear Outdoors. So before we start this mediation, I just want to set some ground rules. We all want to be respectful of each other and get this done as soon as possible. There will be no name calling. Everyone be very respectful of each other. There's no getting up from this mediation at any point. No interrupting anyone. If you have any questions, you can direct them to me, and then I can direct them to the other person. Please have good faith during this, so just be very respectful and keep an open mind and listen to what everyone is going to say. Okay, sounds good?
Yep.
Perfect. So I just want to start out by asking the Forest Services what you guys do.
So we are a United States government entity, and one of our primary jobs is spreading awareness about forest fires and then working to prevent them, and when they do occur, end them as quickly and safely as possible for the communities that they affect.
Thank you. Mr. Ford?
I have been the owner of Smokey Bear Outdoors. It's a little touristy shop here in Silvertown. I've been the owner for over 20 years. Yeah, just hanging out here.
Okay. Well, I want to discuss now why we are here today. So, the Forest Services, you are suing Adam Ford. Can you please tell me why?
So Mr. Ford has used the image and name of Smokey Bear in his store and merchandise for the past 20 years. He has known that it is breaking federal law to use the picture and name of Smokey Bear for commercial purposes, and has been warned numerous times, yet continued to profit off of this character without paying licensing fees. He also continued to violate federal law, so we want to punish him for that.
I would like to hear from Adam Ford now.
So just to begin, like I said, I've been working as a state forester for over 20 years, and then I just opened this shop. And so I have a lot invested into this place. I have my whole family savings are into this. I've had awards for my nature and wildlife educational programs here, so I'm very invested into the community. So you said I've been warned 3 times,
yes.
Correct? You're right. So the first time I was warned, it was over coffee, and it was not an official warning. And when you told me that, I was more of a, oh, it's America, you guys promote free enterprise and free speech. Like, I'm not doing anything bad, I'm not destroying Smokey Bear's name. And then a few weeks later, I get an official notice, which again, I'm like, this is bizarre. Like, I would expect something like more, I don't know, more official, but more contact. And then a few months later, which is considered my 3rd warning, was when I was at work and there was never a conversation between us. He just took pictures of me in my place of work, which, if we're talking about violation of like freedom of speech and stuff, like, that's uncomfortable with me. So I'm just here to try to figure this out because I can't afford to lose this store. I've always promoted Smokey Bear. I'm not promoting like fires, like I'm promoting safe fire methods and all that. Yes, I hope that we find a resolution.
Okay. And did you know that Smokey Bear was they had the license to it? Did you know that you were using this without paying the licensing fees?
No.
Thank you, Adam Ford. I appreciate what you said today. I would like to take it back to Forest Services. Do you have anything you would like to say in response to what he just said?
I would just like to point out again that Mr. Ford was warned 3 times, at least 2 in contact was made in person, and as working as a ranger, For a number of years, he should have known that it was illegal to use the image and name of Smokey Bear. So regardless of the licensing issue, that is still an image that he should have known was off limits, and that he could not use it without repercussions. I would like him to change the name of his store and destroy all merchandise. Promise to never use the image of Smokey Bear again. Pay $1,000 fine for intentionally and continually violating federal law, and then give the government any profits that he gained from using Smokey Bear merchandise in his store.
Okay. So the main issue today is that Adam Ford has been intentionally violating this federal law. So you want the $1,000 fine for that because he's been warned. How many times did you say? 4?
3.
3 different times. Okay. So you want the fine for his violating the law.
Mm-hmm.
You want him to shut down his store completely, change the name, and never use the Smokey Bear image again.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mr. Ford, what exactly do you want out of this mediation today?
So I have a few things that I'd like to take out of this. Number one was no fine. I made a mistake, but I don't think I should have to pay a fine or close down my place of business for this. Number two is no government intervention. I kind of mentioned that before. America really prides itself on the enterprise and free speech, and that's what I was doing here in my store. No lawsuit. My store is too small and too remote for my use of Smokey Bear to hurt anything. 4 was for the rangers to use a different communication approach. Especially the service ranger that took the pictures of me, he could have easily talked to me in person, gave me the opportunity to make the changes, rather than, and then later on avoid this court action where we find ourselves today. And then ultimately, I would not want to close my store. And with that is the fine, because if I have to pay the fine, I'll have to close down my store. So I've really grown up here. I've worked for the national park here. I really have my loyalties to this park and to Smokey Bear. And while I was in the Forest Service, I was not staffed to find and enforce Smokey Bear's image infractions. I had no idea about that. My focus there was, and I think it should continue to be this focus since I left, was preventing forest fires, and ultimately that's what I'm doing at my store. And I have this positive reputation around the community I'd like to maintain. Whereas if this court intervention, my reputation around the community is at risk, and therefore losing all of my life savings.
So you reiterated quite a few times that you won't be able to pay this $1,000 fine. No? Okay. You don't want to pay the fine. You don't want government intervention. You want the freedom of speech that you have the right to as an American citizen. Anything else you would like to say?
I think Mr. Ford should have some repercussion for using Smokey Bear's image, regardless of how well-intentioned it may be. There has to be a example shown, so that others don't take after this usage of Smokey Bear and it becomes oversaturated in the market, which is something we're worried about, that the effectiveness of the Smokey Bear image in raising awareness and prevention of forest fires starts to lessen because it is so popular.
Okay. Thank you. I will get back to you as soon as I can with this contract, and then we will discuss again. We are going to discuss it together, trying to come to a compromise. So, starting off, Forest Services, you want them to pay a $1,000 fine for violating the federal law. But Mr. Ford, you said you will not be able to pay that $1,000 fine.
Correct.
You will go out of business?
Yes.
Okay. So we are going to come to a conclusion of some type of money payment that you will be able to pay. What would you be comfortable with?
we would be open to like a period payment plan.
Mr. Ford, how much do you think you will be able to pay with your annual income to keep your business afloat and also successful, but also be able to pay back the
Ideally, just to give me a little bit of comfort to sleep at night would be around $500, but I would still need a payment plan to get that to you.
Okay. How does the amount of $500 over the course of 6 months sound to you guys? Starting with Forest Services, is that okay? There's a payment plan of $500 over 6 months that you will be guaranteed to have.
Yes.
Mr. Ford, do you think that is doable?
I guess so. I'll manage.
So, number 1 of the contract, you must pay a $500 fine over the course of 6 months to the U.S. Forest Services because you did intentionally violate the federal law. The next point we want to get to is paying the government any profits of the merchandise. So originally you wanted the Mr. Ford
All
profits from everything since his business was opened, right?
Yes.
Since he opened the store. Okay.
I don't think that's fair at all.
Okay.
The name of my store is Smokey Bear. Anyone who walks in is. No, I disagree. That's not happening.
Okay.
From going 15% of all profits going forward from like this point
From
or
today.
from when this was?
From today, because it has been established that Mr. Ford is having troubles with his payment. I appreciate you voicing your concern. You do need to take into consideration that there has been a fine originally that we already have lowered, and with this licensed deal of Smokey Bear, you need to pay some type of licensing fee for that. So you owe Forest Services money because you have been using their image you've been using it illegally. So you do owe some type of money.
Okay.
Adam must pay the government the license fee of Smokey Bear. Keeping the name, but you're paying for the licensing fee. That Adam, he can use the merchandise, he just has to promote it in a positive way. So you can't have any negative talk about Smokey Bear in the workplace. You can't diminish the image in front of anyone. There's no inappropriate printing of Smokey Bear, no abusive or vulgar language associated with Smokey Bear, and no jokes about him, just so you're not diminishing the legend of Smokey Bear. Does that sound okay to everyone?
Yeah.
Okay. Another step in the contract, Adam, you cannot franchise your store, so you can only keep the one store that's located in Silverton. Okay. Any new merchandise must be approved by the Forest Services. That seems only fair that you're paying the licensing fee, yes, but any new things has to go through what they can approve. So they go through all those things, so it won't violate, number 3 in the contract, which is promoting Smokey Bear in a positive way. Okay? And lastly,
The owner of the store changes. They change Smokey Bear because he was arranged, and he has he was personally tied to the cause, and we can't ensure that. We have reason to believe that we're on the same side, and we support the same. But once it's a new owner, and it's no longer his life savings, and
you are to be the only owner of Smokey Bear Outdoors.
Okay, that's fine.
So if any part of this contract agreement is broken, Adam, you will have to change the name of your store and destroy all parts of merchandise of Smokey Bear, and you won't be able to use the Smokey Bear image again because you did agree to this contract. It's for the best interest of the Smokey Bear legend and help prevent forest fires. So if you break the contract in any form, you have to either close your store down or change the name. Okay?
2 hours later.
I will print this out for you guys to sign. Thank you for coming today.
Pleasure doing business.
thank you.